Hey. Hey everyone, I'm back. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie, and this is my life after gastric bypass surgery. And this is, I guess, my 4-month update. I was looking to see how long it had actually been since I last posted, because in my mind I kept thinking, oh, it's been about a month, I really should update and I really should get a video out there. And then I realized that I haven't posted since February 23rd, and it's been more like 6 weeks, and that's not okay. I shouldn't leave people hanging that long. That's my bad. If you saw my last video, you'll know that I got a puppy, and I was not adequately prepared. No matter how many times people tell you that it's a lot of work, I just was not adequately prepared. I did not have a good routine. I didn't have a good plan, and I just felt like I was struggling to take care of my puppy and his needs and my needs and get my work done at the same time. And it just felt like there was no room in my schedule to update on my channel. And that's a shame, partially because I really should have had a better plan so that I was more organized. And also, I never really intended to go any length of time on my channel without an update. And so this is a really good example of how stuff happens in your life and you have to figure out how to deal with it. This was a huge stressor. I thought that I had everything figured out. I had a really good routine with myself. My food was kind of on point. I was doing really well post-op, and so I felt like it was a really good time because I felt like I had my stuff figured out, and it was a really good wake-up call that I did not have my stuff figured out. It is not as easy as being 2 months post-op and having it all figured out and it's just routine from there. It's not that easy. Adding a puppy into the mix, I suddenly found myself unable to feed myself. I had no appetite. I had no ability to prep any food. I was eating a yogurt for dinner and going to bed exhausted at 8 p.m. because that's when the puppy was going to bed. So I was taking any moment that I could. And I really felt like a new mom for a little bit there. I just was tired and didn't have any ability to think outside of this tiny little bubble. So I'm out of that and I'm ready to jump back into things. I think we have a really good routine. I'm feeling really secure and feeling a lot better about my situation. So there should not be any more delays. So if you're here for the stats, I'm basically just going to throw them up right here and do one big update for the last 6 weeks. So my highest recorded weight was 383.3 pounds. I did start my surgery at 344 pounds. The last time I updated the channel, I weighed in at 301.2 pounds. And this week I weighed in at 281.4 pounds. So in the last 6 weeks, since February 23rd, I've lost 19.8 pounds. I went ahead and tried to figure out what the average of that was per week, and it's about 3.3 pounds per week. Now, obviously that was not the case. Sometimes I lost just a tiny bit. Sometimes I lost a little bit more, but on average, I seem to be consistently losing an average of 3 to 3.5 pounds per week, almost no matter what happens. So first and foremost, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is not me for a change. I am finally out of the 300s. Not only am I out of the 300s, I am solidly out of the 300s. I am at about 280 pounds. I don't remember a time in my life being less than 300 pounds. Part of that is because there was a huge chunk of my life that I stopped weighing myself. And I wish that weren't the case. I wish that I had taken better track of that, but I was ashamed and I didn't want to know. And not only was I ashamed, but I kept feeling as a teenager and a young adult that if I didn't weigh myself and I didn't know, then I didn't have to think about it. And in a way, it worked because I'm pretty sure I just continued to gain weight all throughout my young adulthood. So I guess not paying attention to it, not thinking about it. But that leaves me in a point where I can't really find any milestones in my life of like, oh, I weigh less than I did in high school or anything like that, because I don't know. I'd have to literally go find old medical records to figure out what I weighed in high school, and I'm just not that desperate yet. But I do have some ideas. I remember guessing when I got my driver's license and just saying 300 pounds. And I remember thinking that I was probably over that at the time. I was 17 when I got my driver's license, so that wouldn't surprise me. But I have been in the 300s for a long time. It just feels so different now to like be in the 200s. And yes, I am close to 300 pounds still, but it's just this huge milestone that I've been trying to reach for years. When I started Weight Watchers years ago, my first goal was just to get under 300 pounds. I never really quite made that. I got really close. I may have dipped under it. If I did, it was for 1 week, and then I started gaining weight again. It's been a goal for me for a long time that I've just never quite been able to reach, and I've always gotten really close. So it feels really good to get there finally. But I don't like just looking at the number, because the number is one data point, but it doesn't really mean a lot to me. Partially because I have been so overweight my whole life. The number on the scale has never mattered to me, so I don't know why it would start mattering to me now. Aside from the main milestones, like when I finally dip into the 100s and things like that, I mean, those numbers matter, but a specific weight goal or specific numbers on the scale really have never had much impact for me. So it is a nice data point to have, and it is a really good indication of how my progress is going, but it's not the only thing, and it's not the only thing I want to focus on, and it certainly shouldn't be the only thing you focus on. Whatever your weight loss journey might be, the number on the scale is just one way to think about it. So what else has happened in the last 6 weeks that is a non-scale victory? I've actually had a lot of them, like a lot. The first one was that I was able to run around with my puppy outside, and we were playing and running back and forth, and I wasn't tired. It didn't knock me on my ass. It didn't make me feel awful. I was having fun and running back and forth with him, and that's something that I would not have done pre-surgery. In fact, one of the things that led me to my surgery was just having to walk around in circles because I couldn't put my ducks away one night, and they just kept running around in circles, and running after them made me so exhausted, and I just got so upset, and I started crying because of how hard it was for me to just run after my ducks. And so to be able to just run around with my puppy and kick balls with him and play fetch and just run around in the grass was awesome. It just didn't even faze me at all. The next one is that I talked really not that long ago during pre-op in another video about how it was so embarrassing because I couldn't fit in any of my pants anymore, and how amazing it was during the pre-op process to lose enough to be able to button and wear pants again. And now I'm at the point where almost all of my pants are too big for me. I am getting to the point where some of them are going to have to be retired permanently, and some of them can still be pulled off with a belt, but we're going to get to the point where they just look too baggy. So just seeing, I mean, in every way, not just my pants, my clothes are starting to fit like bags on me. This shirt is a really good example of just being absolutely huge on me now. It is just, it's falling off my shoulders if I'm running around the house doing chores. It's flowing down towards my knees, and my puppy keeps biting at it because it's just flowing all around me. My clothes are just barely hanging on, and I've got a few things because over the years I have lost and gained weight, so I have clothes in various different sizes. So I have some things that used to be really tight that are now fitting comfortably, and I have some things that are even smaller than that are still too tight. So I've got a little bit of wiggle room, but I am rapidly running out of work clothes, rapidly. So I'm going to have to come up with a solution pretty soon. And I'm thinking about checking out a local consignment shop and just picking up a couple things that can get me through if I have a meeting with a client or something, so I don't look like a mess, an absolute mess. But it does feel so nice to have things that are just falling off of me because they're so big. That's not a feeling that I have experienced many times in my life before. I've pretty much always consistently had clothes get tighter and tighter over the years. So, I mean, that's a huge non-scale victory for me. Another really good example is that I can now cross my legs without any effort, and they can sit there crossed without any effort on my part. This might seem like a silly one if you've never experienced this, but I can't really think of a time in my life that I could cross my legs comfortably. By the time it would have been something I ever cared about as a teenager or a young adult, my thighs have always been too fat for that. It's just never happened. And not just having them crossed, but crossing them, I used to have to pull my leg up onto my lap, and then I would have to either hold it there physically or tense my muscles to keep that leg there because it just wanted to slide right off. And now I can cross my legs and then sit there relatively comfortably without worrying about my leg at all. And kind of going along with that, I have more of a lap now. My cats can way more comfortably lay across my lap than they could before. There just wasn't a lot of space for them before, and I didn't realize how bad it was until they started comfortably laying across my lap, and I realized you couldn't do that before. My stomach was too in the way for them to comfortably sprawl across my lap. I can sit in a chair now and they can sit on my lap. They never used to be able to do that. I'd have to be in a specific kind of lounging position on the couch. Now I can sit in this computer chair and I have enough of a lap that they can jump up here and actually sit on it. And that's pretty cool too, because I never really realized these little things that got in the way from having what I would consider a normal life. It just didn't occur to me at the time that these were problematic things, and that my weight was getting in the way of being able to just have my cat sit on my lap. Like, that's crazy to me. All of that being said, it has not been, I almost said Guns N' Roses. It hasn't been all Guns N' Roses, you guys. There are still difficult parts to all of this. I still struggle with things. I'm still learning. This is not a quick fix. This is not something that isn't frustrating. I mean, I still have a lot of stuff that I'm trying to figure out and work out. Adding the stress of the puppy into my life really put a wrench into things and shone a spotlight on the fact that I wasn't taking care of myself, and I can't do that with this. You know, I could probably get away with it a little bit easier in the past, but I need to stay on top of my water intake. I need to stay on top of my protein intake. I need to properly nourish my body, not just because you need to properly nourish your body, but also because I don't absorb the same amount of calories anymore. And I don't want to easily get malnourished just because I'm stressed and not thinking about what to eat for dinner or how to take care of myself throughout the day. Being able to manage the new stress in my life was difficult, especially coming from somebody who is an emotional eater. I couldn't rely on that anymore. I couldn't be an emotional eater. I couldn't eat a bunch of things to make me feel better. So what I found myself doing more than anything was just not doing anything at all and just going to bed instead of eating dinner and just not taking care of myself. And I realized pretty quick that wasn't going to fly. So I've had to really get back into prepping meals, prepping my food, making things grab and go easy. Otherwise, I just have a tendency to not. The urge to emotional eat is still there. And that definitely happened to me during the last 6 weeks. I had one night in particular where I was just overwhelmed, and we had Oreos in the house. And although I was doing an okay job at managing them, considering I was eating just 2 Oreos at a time, I found that although I knew I couldn't eat more than 2 at a time because it would make me sick, that I could go back a couple times during the day and eat those 2 at a time and it wouldn't make me sick. Suddenly, I was having 6 Oreos in a day, but spread out enough that it wasn't making me sick. So I learned pretty quickly that A, Oreos can't be in the house. I just can't have constant access to that kind of a thing. But B, those urges are still there. And I am a smart cookie. No pun intended? No, pun intended. I'm a smart cookie. I'm going to figure out ways around it. My brain still wants to function sometimes the old way. And if I can find ways to do it, it's going to try. So I need to be disciplined. And I need to make sure that I don't have packs of Oreos around the house. If that's something that I know I'm just going to grab and go and eat throughout the day and graze on, and suddenly find myself in a position where I've eaten way too many cookies, but I didn't get sick from it, so I hadn't noticed. But one night I emotionally ate those Oreos. I grabbed 3 Oreos, which I had learned that I could eat 2 Oreos on a non-empty stomach and not make myself sick. But I grabbed 3 at the very end of the night on a pretty empty stomach, and after I ate them, I felt really sick. And then I felt really disappointed because I knew better than to do that, and I just made myself sick of eating too many Oreos because I was emotionally having a hard time, and that's what I gravitated to. And it was a really good way for me to make sure that the rest of the Oreos got eaten by the other people in the house, say goodbye, not purchase those again, and realize that I need to pay more attention. To fix your brain is not an easy task. I will always probably try to find ways to wiggle around things, and my brain just wants to do that. If I can find a way to eat something without making me sick, I'm probably going to find it. And if I allow myself to continue to do that, that's when those bad habits start creeping back in. I am all about moderation. I don't want to say I'm never allowed to have a cookie again. But if Oreos in particular are going to be a problem, then I need to find some other thing to get my sweet fix. Something that is more individually packaged, or just doesn't have that kind of grab and snack quality that I really like about some of these things that I used to eat. So being mindful and really working on the mentality is the hardest part. And trust me, the surgery alone will not fix it. It won't. The surgery doesn't touch your brain. My relationship with food is totally different, but it's not fixed. That takes a lot of effort on my part. Another downside is I did start experiencing hair loss in the last 6 weeks. In fact, I believe it was the week that I didn't post a video that I had started experiencing this, and it has gone consistently since then. It is pretty common to see that right around the 3-month mark is when people start to experience hair loss, if it happens to them. And there's a lot of questions about it. There's a lot of concern about it. I feel like my hair is thinner, but I don't think it's that noticeable. I don't think it's very noticeable from the outside. I think I can notice that it feels different, but I don't think people looking at me can tell that I have quite a bit of hair that comes out every time I go to the shower. So I think it's mostly one of those things that we notice individually. There's not a lot you can do about it. A lot of it is just genetics and how your body responds to the rapid weight loss. I've heard that making sure you're keeping up on your protein and your biotin and maybe collagen and stuff can really help. But ultimately, when I look into the stats on that and the real scientific stuff behind it, there's just not much you can do. Biotin is something that they always recommend for hair loss, but as far as I can tell, it really just helps when you're growing the new hair. back, and it helps your hair grow back fuller and stronger and better, but it's not going to help when it comes to the loss of the hair. I have been pretty consistently hitting my protein goals since surgery. It hasn't been as hard as I thought it would to get the about 75 or more grams of protein in. And so that alone didn't stop my hair loss. There's just not a lot you can do other than ride it out. My main issue right now is that I always have long strands of hair. I don't know if you can see. Anytime I run my hands through my hair, there's always a couple of strands. And no matter how much I brush and wash, it just feels like there's always a few stragglers around, and I always have bits of hair. But they hang out on my clothes and on my coat and all over the place. They're on my arms. I'm suddenly like, oh my God, I've got hair on me again. And they're these long strands because I have relatively long hair. So I actually have an appointment to go to the salon, and I'm going to chop a good chunk of it off, get a bunch of layers, and just try to manage it. I'm not going to do the whole pixie cut that a lot of other people do. Don't feel like I need anything super drastic, but I'm tired of my hair being these long strands every time they come out. Like I need to manage it a little bit. But it is just part of what happens with this process and losing a lot of weight. I'm going to run into these issues along the way. I'm going to have hair loss that I hear starts growing back after the first year or so. Usually pretty healthy and full after you've gone through this. So at least I have that to look forward to. And I'm going to have loose skin. It's inevitable. I've got it right now. It's getting worse over time, and it will continue to get worse. It's just what's going to happen. And I have to learn how to deal with it and manage it, because I am way happier and healthier now, even with a little bit of hair loss and loose skin. It's really not that difficult. It can be frustrating at times, for sure. Sometimes I jump up out of bed and I hear myself flap against myself, and I'm like, wow, that's awful. But I mean, the alternative, I think I'll take it. I think that's the gist, at least for now, on what my month 4 was kind of like after surgery. From this point on, I'm definitely going to get back into more frequent videos. I don't know if I'm going to do consistent weekly updates. I'm going to do weekly videos, but I don't know if we need to go over how much weight I lost in a week, unless that's something you guys are really interested in. So let me know if that's something that you really want to keep up with week by week, what's going on, what I'm experiencing. Otherwise, maybe every month or so I can do an update on how things have been going for the last month. So I'll kind of leave that up to what you guys want to see, because it doesn't matter to me updating. I just don't know how interesting it is to find out how much I lost for, week 16 or whatever. I don't even know what I'm on. I'll have to count it up. but I'm definitely going to come out with weekly videos again, kind of just updating what this whole process is like, what to expect. And I might do a Q&A video here soon. So if you're interested, you're always welcome to follow me on Instagram as well. I am here. I don't update it all that often, but it is more frequent than YouTube. So mostly food. It's mostly food, and it's mostly the same food over and over. So it's not a very exciting account. But if you are an Instagram kind of person, you're welcome to follow me on there as well. And I will see you guys in the next one, like soon. I promise. Maybe I'll bring my dog to that one. Yeah. That sounds like a bad idea. Oh, I don't know. He's got a lot of energy. We'll find out. Have a good one and stay safe, you guys. Bye.
You're too excited. Parker, stop. Oh no.